There is a difference between a character who has been through something and one who is still carrying it. This video is about the second kind. We are ranking the people of Red Dead Redemption by how haunted they are, by the weight they carry, by what stayed with them after the shooting stopped, after the money was gone and the plan had failed and there was nothing left to do but remember. One thing before we start, this ranks people by their wounds, and nobody wins by placing high. If it works the way I want it to, the person at number 1 is not going to feel like a stranger. He is going to feel a little too familiar. So let's start at the bottom, where the weight is lightest. Here's the rule. Being haunted takes a conscience. It takes something you cannot put down, a memory that shows up uninvited, a version of yourself you have to live next to, which brings up the man who does not qualify, Micah Bell. Micah is the most damaged person in this story, and the least haunted. And those two facts are holding hands. Nothing follows Micah home because nothing ever got inside. He does harm and notices the weather, not his conscience. He sits below the bottom of this list, and that is the scariest spot on it. Everyone above him is carrying something. Let's meet them, starting light. Number 12, Sean MacGuire. He never stops talking because silence is where the fear of being forgotten lives. His bravado is armor bolted over the worry that he is unremarkable. Number 11, Uncle. Uncle turned his whole life into a bit so nobody could ask him to carry any of it. Humor can be a gift, and it can also be a very comfortable place to hide. Number 10, Bill Williamson. Bill only ever wanted someone to tell him he belonged, and he would do almost anything to keep hearing it. Some people never learn to hold their own worth, so they hand it to whoever will manage it for them. Number 9, Karen Jones. Karen takes one drink to stay in the room, then a few more to not feel the room emptying, until she is quietly faded out of the story. That kind of disappearing rarely announces itself. It just takes the chair where a person used to sit. Number 8, Kieran Duffy. He spends the whole game trying to prove he is safe to keep, and he gets one of the cruelest ends in the story right when he finally looked like he belonged. The hunger to be let in can outlast every reason to stop knocking. That is the shallow end. From here, the water gets deeper, and the people get a lot quieter about it. Number 7, Lenny Summers. Lenny watched his father get killed in front of him as a boy for the crime of being a free black man in the wrong place. He could have let that harden into a single cold thing. He didn't. He reads, he thinks, he holds on to a hope everyone older than him has already spent. Some people carry their grief for a lifetime and still leave the porch light on. Number 6, Hosea Matthews. Hosea lost his wife, Bessie, years before we meet him, and he never really refilled the space she left. What stays with you is what he did with the quiet. He became the steady one, the voice of restraint in a gang built on impulse. His grief settled into a gentleness that only people who have truly lost something ever manage, and this is why he sits this high. Hosea shows us the pattern that runs all the way to number 1. The deepest wounds in this story go quiet. They turn into something that looks like calm. On the far side of grief, there is a steadiness built from endurance, and from a distance, it is easy to mistake for wisdom. The next two are the loudest people left on the list, and that is the point. Their wounds are still too fresh to have gone quiet. Number 5, Sadie Adler. Sadie had a home, a husband, and an ordinary life, and she watched all of it burn in a single morning. Everything she becomes afterward, the gun she never sets down, the missions she takes first, the cold efficiency, grows out of the crater where her life used to be. She takes the loss and gives it a direction. She aims it. Revenge hands grief a schedule, something to do with your hands, so you never have to sit still with the feeling, and it works, right up until the last name is crossed off and the quiet comes for you anyway. When rage is the only grief a person is allowed, they keep finding new targets so they never run out of it. Number 4, Dutch van der Linde. The gang leader is the most haunted man in Red Dead who will never once admit it. Somewhere along the way, he built a version of himself, the philosopher, the father, the man with the plan, and the gap between that man and the one making the actual decisions grew too wide to survive. So he stopped looking. Every betrayal, every body, every friend he spent goes into a box marked necessary, and he never opens the box. That is why he lands below the quiet ones instead of above them. Denial is a wound with the lights turned off, still steering the whole house from a room the owner refuses to enter. Dutch takes orders for years from an injury he will not name, and it costs him everyone who ever believed in him. Number 3, Charles Smith. Charles is the quietest person in the gang and the one with the least to go back to. His mother was taken from her people, his father drank himself out of the picture, and Charles grew up belonging fully to no one and nowhere. He learned to be useful, because usefulness was the closest thing to a home anyone offered him. He does the hard jobs, protects the people worth protecting, and expects almost nothing back, because a man who has never had a place does not assume one is coming. When it all falls apart, Charles walks away clean, and he walks away alone, toward a horizon that was never really his either. Homesickness is worse when there is no home behind you, only the shape of one you were never allowed to have. Number 2. John Marston. John is the man who got out, and that turns out to be its own kind of haunting. He does the impossible thing. He survives the gang, buys the land, marries the woman, raises the boy, and builds the exact quiet life the whole story has been aching toward. And it does not save him. The past does not forgive people for leaving. The government that used him, the men he ran with, the things he did before he chose to become someone else, all of it comes to collect, and John pays with his life on his own land. In front of the family he changed everything to protect. He dies having finally become a good man, and the world kills the good man for the debts of the bad one. He outran who he was, and it did not matter. The real wound is the suspicion, deep down, that a person does not get to start over, that the ledger stays open no matter how much the man changes. The hardest part of a past you have left behind is the quiet fear that it has not left you. Number 1. Arthur Morgan. I want to give the top of this list the way the game earns it, which is quietly. Arthur spent 20 years being very good at something terrible. He hurt people for money and called it loyalty, and for most of his life the arithmetic held, because he never had a reason to sit down and add it all up. Then a doctor gives him a few months to live, and suddenly Arthur has nothing to do but count. He does not get a redemption arc in the loud sense. He finds no God, makes no grand speech, wipes no slate clean. He just starts, in the time he has left, trying to leave things a little better than he found them. He helps where he can, gives away what he can, and spends his last strength making sure John and the boy get the future he already knows he will never see. And he does it without expecting it to fix a thing. A dying man doing the right thing with nothing left to gain and no one left to perform it for. The most haunted person in Red Dead is also the calmest, and that is not an accident. By the end, Arthur has stopped running from the tally. He has read the whole thing and decided to spend what remains paying down a debt he knows he can never clear. He meets the sunrise at peace with a ledger that never balanced. He stopped needing it to, and that turned out to be enough. The deepest reckonings are the quiet ones, because by the time you truly face what you have done, there is nothing left to do but face it.